so we are just starting to record right now. If everyone could, or someone in the chat box, if you could just let me know that you can hear me, just write a quick note, yes, you can hear me, that would be great because I want to make sure. Awesome, wonderful, thank you for that. So I am Hallie Crawford. I'm a certified career coach, speaker, and author based in Atlanta, Georgia. I have been coaching and training for over 17 years. I know it sounds like I'm 12. I'm actually 45, and I have a 10-year-old son who just started his summer break, and I'm not sure I'm going to make it through the whole break because it's crazy not having that regular schedule. We are here to talk today about if you want a new job, what do you do next? 6 steps to jumpstart your job search. And the next steps that you need to take if you're feeling frustrated with your career path or your current job, and what do you need to do next and differently? Because what happens to us, and let's take a look at the next slide here. We are going to be on, just by the way here while I'm pulling this up, everyone, for 30 minutes. We are going to have a couple of minutes at the end for Q&A. So feel free to post comments or questions in the chat box because everyone will remain on mute, and I would be happy to answer questions as we go here. I'm going to bookmark them and save them till the end. So here's why we're talking about this topic, everyone. If you take a look at this next slide, the reason why we need to talk about, okay, what are the steps I need to take for a job search is because it can be very overwhelming. People don't know, like, okay, I need to figure this out and, conduct a job search, but I don't know what the first step is, much less 3 steps down the line. It can be very overwhelming for these reasons on the slide, because there's new technology out there that people don't know how to use. There's information overload. There's all different advice about how to revise your resume. Should it be 1 page? Should it be 2 pages? Do I underline things? Do I not? There's information overload on the internet, plus from friends and family giving you great advice, I'm sure. There are so many steps to take in the job search, and it's also confusing for people. Our clients often ask us, like, I don't have enough time to conduct the search and, wrangle with my kids and have a full-time job. So how do I find the time to do it? And also, how do I use the time wisely? I'm not sure, what the best place is or where I should spend the most of my time in my job search to be most effective. So this is why it's overwhelming. And a study last year showed that 43% of unemployed Americans have just basically given up on the job search because it is so overwhelming. And it's understandable. We work with people on their job searching all the time, and we understand and completely get how overwhelming it can be, which is why we're here to, talk about this today. So we don't let that be you. Don't let that be you, the overwhelmed person who just doesn't do anything about it and stays in a job way too long that is not a fit for you. And that's why we're here today, to get you out of that rut. We want you to know that you can find a satisfying job. You just need a plan and dedication, a positive attitude, and realistic goals about finding that new job. Here are the 6 essential steps in order to conduct your job search effectively. And the first steps, everyone, that you should be taking. We're going to go through these today. Identifying your goals and your brand, revising your resume and your materials. You need to have an elevator pitch. You've got to start networking. Even though technology has made things very different these days with job searching, you still have to network. That is still the case, that it's who you know, okay? Conducting informational interviews is an important strategy, and also you need to finalize your strategy and implement it on a consistent, regular basis as you go, okay? So let's talk about step number 1, identifying your goals and your brand. Just like anything else, you need to have a clear direction before you begin job searching. We'll have people come to us and say, okay, I need to start job searching. Let's get my resume revised. And then when I ask them what jobs they're looking for, they're not sure. That will not work. That is putting the cart before the horse. You need to know very clearly which jobs you want to apply for and what your ideal job is before you start searching, because every single thing you do and each step you take needs to support that direction that you want to go with your career, okay? So your first one, and identifying your goals here, part of step number 1, is identifying what your ideal job is. This is our ideal career model that we use with all of our clients to help them figure out what their ideal job is, what's the right fit. We have them start, if you take a look at the slide here, we have them start with fulfillment, we have them go across to the left, then go talk about education, experience, personality, work environment, and compensation. The reason why these pieces are kind of like falling into place here is because it's a puzzle that you put together over time. So with our Identify Your Ideal Career workbook, which is our specific coaching process to help people define their direction, it helps you fill out each of these pieces of the model step by step. And as the pieces fall into place, the picture of your ideal job becomes more clear as you go. So that's the deal with how we use the model. And we start with fulfillment first because that is the piece of the model that helps people generate the most ideas about their career direction, okay? And then we end with compensation, not because it's not important, but because that's how you can narrow down your ideas based on practicality and reality. So the first thing is to understand what your ideal job is. And one of the things that we have people do is write out like your ideal job description, even if it's looking at several different job descriptions online and kind of culling from those the things that you like the most. Write your ideal job description so that you know exactly what you're going for. Part of step number one, the second kind of piece, is to identify your brand. So to effectively job search for the specific types of jobs you're looking for, you must understand and identify these important factors about yourself that are on this slide. What are your values and interests? Why are you interested in this career path? You know, what makes you motivated towards it? Obviously, employers want to hire people that are excited about their jobs. You need to understand what your strengths, your education and experience are, how that defines your unique selling points and who you are, what value you bring to the table. And also your personality type. Those things, or all three of these kind of categories, if you will, these all lead to your brand. Understanding what your brand is not only will help you ensure that you search for the right kind of job, but it will also help you more effectively sell yourself to potential employers and make you feel much more comfortable in the job interviews, okay? So these are all the pieces that you need to understand about yourself to define and formulate your brand. Now, if you look at the career model that we just talked about a moment ago, this can also help you understand what your brand is. These are some of the pieces here. What are your interests? What's going to be rewarding about this? You express that to an employer because we think that's very important to let them know why you're passionate about the job and the work. The strengths that you have, the education and the experience and your personality type, these all lead to and help you come up with and identify what your brand is, okay? I would, by the way, interview other people in order to understand how you come across and what your brand is. Friends and family members, a blend of male, female, also coworkers or former coworkers as well, because they can help you get a sense of what your strengths are and what your personality traits are and how you come across in the workplace, but also in your personal life, because all of these pieces come together to define your brand, okay? And then the last thing in terms of branding here, in this day and age, you've got to Google yourself, you've got to review all of your, you know, your LinkedIn profile, but also your personal profiles, Pinterest, Facebook, etc., to find out and just see what's out there just in case. Because too many people have been turned down. If you look at the statistic here, 70% of employers have said that they've turned down candidates because of something negative they found online. So in terms of your brand, you don't need to just, or you need to, you know, define what it is and what your brand is, but you also need to make sure that you're communicating that brand in an effective way and that there's also nothing negative online, okay? I'm happy to do a free strategy session with anyone on the call today. If you just email me at admin@halliecrawford.com in order to help you think about and work through, start to develop what your branding statement is if you feel like you need help with that, okay? So first of all, you do these two things: establish what your goal is and establish what your brand is so you can start selling yourself. Next, step number 2 is to revise your resume and LinkedIn. And anything else that you want to use or leverage in your job search. So for example, if you want to post a YouTube video like an introduction to yourself, or if you're going to leverage and use Facebook in your job search to a certain extent, you want to clean it up a little bit. and maybe create a category or, you know, a list of career contacts, not just friends and family, and dump people into that as well if you want to, you know, network that way. So here's the deal with revising your resume and your LinkedIn profile. These should all represent and communicate your brand, just like we talked about before. Some of our top tips for revision for both of these, LinkedIn and resume, is obviously on your resume, check the formatting, be consistent, use a lot of white space on your resume so that it's easy to read. And at the top of your cover letter, the header for your cover letter and resume should be the same. So they should kind of match so they look like they're consistent pieces, okay? You want to include keywords on your LinkedIn profile as well as on your resume so that the computer can pick those up and that employers on LinkedIn, when they're searching for you, they will pull you up based on specific keywords, based on your brand and lingo from your industry as well. You want to make sure you mention marketable results each time. So in your resume and LinkedIn, everyone, don't just put the bullet points of tasks. Oh, I filed papers, or, you know, whatever it is, okay? That's a goofy, you know, example, I realize. But you need to have the results. So what was the result of the fact that you streamlined the process in terms of operations of patient intake, let's say at a doctor's office? Well, why should I care about that? The result was we were able to see X number more patients per day. Whatever it is, you need to ask yourself, go through your resume, everyone, and your LinkedIn profile, and with each bullet point, ask yourself, so what? Why should I care? So that you can put those results down for each piece. And then obviously, as most of you probably know, have a summary at the top of your resume and have a summary at the top of your LinkedIn profile. We don't like objective statements on either of these. They know what your objective is. You're applying for their job. So we would prefer that you have a summary or a professional profile at the top that sells you for that position, okay? In terms of your LinkedIn profile, if you take a look at this slide, the summary at the top can be more personal. You can use first person on LinkedIn, whereas on your resume, we don't suggest that you do. Obviously, you want to make sure you have a professional profile or, photo, the measurable results. We already talked about that. Make sure that you get recommendations on your LinkedIn profile between 3 and 5, at least as a start, would be a good kind of goal. We have seen people, and I like this, use their LinkedIn recommendations on their resume underneath each job. A blurb of it. You can't put the whole, you know, paragraph. It can't be too long, but you can excerpt a recommendation from LinkedIn and place it on your resume. Again, using keywords here. And by the way, everyone, there is a feature on LinkedIn that when you go into your settings now, you can click a button to say, I want to be viewed by employers and recruiters. So you want to check that button on LinkedIn in your settings. Have a friend read your resume and your LinkedIn profile to make sure everything looks okay. We offer resume and LinkedIn services as well. We'd be happy to help you with that, okay, if needed. Here's the deal. Don't just say, oh, I'm going to write my own resume and see what happens. It's worth it to get it professionally done. Have someone help you with it, even if it's a friend. Because if you look at these statistics, only about 5 applicants actually get an interview from a ton of applications. So it is hard to get your foot in the door. This is why networking is important as well. But make sure that your resume and your LinkedIn profile look really, really good, because that's the first impression you're giving an employer, okay? Feel free to, if you need more information about resume, cover letter, services, but if you would like some examples that we use with our clients, feel free to email me at admin@halliecrawford.com, and I can email you some of these examples, okay, so that you've got some templates to work from in terms of your resume and cover letter. All right, so let's take a look at step number 3. So the third thing you need to do once your materials are in better order is develop your elevator pitch, okay? You guys know what this is. It's supposed to be the time that it takes to talk to somebody in an elevator, but we all know how often do we really talk to someone in an elevator about this stuff, right? Ha ha. But with your elevator pitch, you do need to have it for when you're conducting informational interviews with people, and when you're going to a networking event, and when you're asking to be introduced to someone else on LinkedIn, like a second connection. You need to have your elevator pitch handy and ready to go that you can plop in there and send it to them and say, this is who I am. So it's about 150 words. It should spotlight your uniqueness and, you know, the benefits you provide. Focus though on the results, everybody. Too many people will stand up at a networking event, you know, when they go around the room and be like, I'm an accountant and, you know, I process people's like payroll, you know, blah, 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 whatever it is. And it's like boring and it's task oriented. It needs to be about, I help people save money on, you know, their taxes, you know, blah, 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 whatever it is, and as memorable as possible. It doesn't have to be hysterically funny, but put something in there that will remember, oh, that make them remember, that's the person who does this, okay? So you want to make sure that your elevator pitch is not just kind of a glorified list of your tasks and the things that you do, but the results you achieve for people. My elevator pitch is, I help people find jobs that make them want to jump out of bed in the morning. That's my elevator pitch, because that is a result of our clients working with us. They're actually excited to go to work. Yes, okay? So how to get started on your elevator pitch, a couple of things to think about. You need to think about, okay, who am I talking to? Am I going to a networking event, or am I trying to get clients or customers? So who are you speaking to and how do you tailor to that? Write down the deliverables. We already talked about that. That's the results. Choose an opening sentence that grabs their attention, something that's memorable, and practice it in front of the mirror so that you can see what your facial expression is. We did, I'm going to go to the next slide here because I'm going to give you an example. We did an MBA workshop at Mercer recently, and one of the women said, you know, people have always told me I need to, quote unquote, fix my face because I might say something in a meeting or whatever, and I don't have a good poker face. I can't hide my emotions. So with your elevator pitch, you need to practice in front of the mirror so you see how you're coming across. Okay. Reminder, everyone, just quick admin item, you will be getting a copy of this recording at the end. If you would like a copy of the presentation itself, please just email me at admin@halliecrawford.com so that you can have these examples and don't feel like you have to be frantically writing things down, okay? But this is an example from one of our clients that we helped him develop his elevator pitch, okay? And you can see it's very results oriented, tells people, you know, what he does. And then here is another example for a marketing consultant and writer. Again, a story to tell, results oriented, and it's memorable, okay? So these are some examples that you can use to start thinking about and writing your elevator pitch, okay? All right, so we're halfway there. We're gonna start to talk about step number 4 and networking, okay? So here's the deal. Networking is a critical piece to your job search, okay? So this is our 4th step. Once you have your materials in place and your elevator pitch, you're ready to start networking. This is still the case, everybody, that 60 to 70% of jobs are found through networking, even still these days with technology, okay? These are places on this slide that you can find people to network with. LinkedIn, clearly number 1. Facebook, we do actually recommend that. We've had people get interviews through connecting with people and letting their Facebook friends know that they're looking. Meetup.com is becoming more, like it's becoming bigger, more professional. So you can look on that website to find networking groups. Your alumni association, people always forget about this one. Tap into that alumni association, as well as industry associations and even social groups. We had a client who was from Boston who had moved to Atlanta. He went to a Boston Red Sox viewing party. He met a person there who is also from Boston, found out about a ton of job openings at Bank of America just from that social event. So the old adage that everybody says, you know, networking can happen anywhere, it's absolutely true. So in terms of networking effectively, if you're looking to structure your job search on like a weekly basis, you want to join at least 2 to 3 groups, participate regularly, connect with a certain number of people each month. If you are unemployed right now, you need to connect with 2 or 3 new people every single week. But if you're currently employed, have a full-time job, make a goal for yourself to, like at a minimum, I would say, you know, once a week, find a new person to connect with or reconnect with. And be strategic with each person, by the way, everybody. And what this means here at the bottom is don't just walk, you know, like don't just walk into the networking event and start talking to whoever without a goal in mind. Or don't, you know, go to an informational interview unprepared. Think about, how can you help this person, but also obviously how can they help you? What do you need to ask them for that would be the most helpful for you, based on their industry, based on their job description? Don't ask them for something that they can't give you or doesn't make sense to ask them. Too often our clients, when they first start with this, they're not strategic enough about their informational interviews and networking with people. They just go into it blindly. You need to research the person on LinkedIn and think very clearly about, okay, what can I ask them for that would make the most sense to really leverage their time and my time as well. Okay? So step number 5, informational interviews. We recommend this for clients of all ages. I've had clients tell me who are older, closer to my age, 45, they're like, well, that's for new college grads. Why would I do this? Absolutely not. We had someone who was very high up at Holder, a VP at a construction firm here in Atlanta, conduct an informational interview over the phone with someone at Kimberly-Clark, very high up also. The woman said after an hour of talking, gosh, more people should do this because I so enjoyed talking with you, and it gives people a chance to really connect with you and understand, what you bring to the table. Okay. There's a quick question here that I'll mention. That's networking or informational interviews can be tricky. How do you keep from being an opportunist? I totally understand this. Here's the deal. You offer them right up front. You say, how can I help you as well? And you ask them directly, not just at the end, but say, is there anything I can help you with too? Is there anyone in my network on LinkedIn that I could connect you with? Please go through it and feel free to ask me for that help. That can help you with that. Okay. With informational interviews, it's a one-on-one conversation in person or via Skype or over the phone or email even with someone who works in your industry or in a role that you would be interested in working in eventually down the line, or your next step. Okay. So some basics about informational interviews. You want to start with people you know, obviously, and then start to move to your alumni association, etc. You want to be very specific with them that I am looking for information from you. I'm not looking for you to get me a job. I would just like to ask you 2 or 3 questions about what it's like to work at your company, or 2 or 3 questions about how to put my best foot forward in my search. I'm looking for this type of position, and I just want to get your quick advice on how do I best sell myself. Be professional always during the course of the informational interview. Stick to the time allotted. Don't go over time. And I always tell people too, before the informational interview occurs, like right out of the box when you ask for it, let them know, I'm looking to get these 5 questions answered. That's all I'm asking from you, so that they know what you're looking for. They know that you're not going to take like an hour of their time unless they have that. And also they can think about those questions in advance in order to best assist you during the course of that. I'm always impressed when someone contacts me and says, I'm looking for information and I'm wondering if you can answer these 2 to 3 questions for me. Awesome. I'm always impressed by that. And then obviously follow up at the end. Send them a thank you note, a thank you email, but also something in handwritten. I think that makes a really good impression as well. And follow up with any references or referrals that they gave you, and keep them posted on if you connect with that person or not. Okay. Now, step number 6 here, if we move to this last one and start to close out so that we've got a few minutes for questions here. So step number 6 that you need to take is you need to establish your strategy. So once you've got your materials in place and you've conducted a couple of informational interviews and you've got that ball rolling, you want to leverage and use our job search worksheet. Feel free to email me for a copy of that. It is fantastic because it is a pre-set up Excel spreadsheet that has tabs created already for you with categories on each of those tabs on how you can conduct your job search effectively. It will help you stay organized and know what you need to do every single week in terms of your search. So establishing your strategy for your search, you want to set a schedule. How many hours are you going to spend on a given day? When are you going to do this? Are you a morning person? Are you an evening person? Does it have to be on the weekends because, during the week won't work, whatever it is. So you want to set a schedule first and set goals for how much time you're going to spend. Stay organized and set those job alerts up online on Indeed and Glassdoor, okay, so that you're automatically getting alerts for new job postings. Update and make sure your voicemail sounds good on your phone so that it's professional and everything else. And the way I just said that actually sounded really bad, right? So you want to call your voicemail and make sure that it sounds good, professional, upbeat, to the point, okay? Just double check that. And create a job search email address that sounds professional. It can't be butterfly, you know, and roses, blah, blah, blah. It needs to be a professional email address. And don't use one, by the way, if anybody has like a Hotmail or an AOL account or a MindSpring account, that honestly, it ages you. It makes you seem older. And we always want people to have like a current, up-to-date email address that's professional, but that doesn't age you either, because those are old services and it comes across, you know, could create a sense of ageism. You got to be careful with that. You also want to make sure that you have an automatic signature in your email that goes out every single time you send an email with your name, your phone number, your email address. I know that sounds funny, but put it there anyway, because maybe somebody will print something out and they won't see that. And also put your LinkedIn profile in your signature line and a branding statement about who you are. So what job titles are you looking for and what results do you give to people? Kind of like your elevator speech, you know, putting it inside the email signature. And practice, as part of your strategy, practice self-care. So some people will say, you know, well, my parents told me I should be searching 10 hours a day, or my partner or whatever, a husband or wife. It's not about that. You have to take care of yourself so that you remain positive and upbeat and in the right mental state for your job search as well. Okay. So if any of you need assistance, we'll go for the Q&A in just a few minutes here, in just 1 second actually, and I have a few minutes until the half hour to do that. But if any of you need help with anything that we talked about today or any other career goals, please feel free to email me for a free career strategy session. I'd be happy to talk with you about any career goal, including what we talked about today, to help you get on track and give you some quick advice. Okay? All right, so I know I threw a lot at you. Let's go to Q&A. We've got one more question here. What do you think about working with executive search firms during the job search? Are they one of the best ways to get your resume noticed by employers these days? Yes, search firms are great. Recruiters and placement agencies are fantastic. It is one of the ways you can tap into the hidden job market, okay? However, they only typically work with higher level positions. That's where the money is. There are some recruiters and headhunters that work with lower level positions, more like, you know, management or below. If you can find them on LinkedIn and also find some recommendations, like Lucas Group is one that we know is good. We actually recommend to our clients Robert Half as well, because those are placement agencies. So do check those out for sure, but be aware that if you're not at the executive level, you may need to find someone that works with a little bit lower level management positions. Okay, thank you for that question. That's perfect. We had another question. Is our firm still doing the strength training? Yes, we do a 1-hour session with clients or anyone who needs to better understand what their strengths are. We use the Strengths Finder assessment. It's only $20. It's a fantastic assessment. And if you feel like you need help with your brand and understanding what your strengths are in order to develop or determine what that brand is, we do a review with you one-on-one of your Strengths Finder assessment. So yes, we do that. All right, any other questions? Those were great ones. Okay, one more question here and then we will close out for the day. And just as a reminder, everyone, look out for the handout in a follow-up email as well as the recording, and email me if you would like the PowerPoint, okay? How much time should I spend job searching per day? Everyone always asks us this. This is a great question. Thanks for asking. It really depends on how much time you have, if you're working full-time or not, honestly. However, I would not do more than, if you're not working, I would not do too much more than 4 hours a day. And I would have that be, you know, including attending a networking meeting, you know, doing informational interviews with people, that kind of thing. If you do a little bit more, that's fine, but you're going to get burned out if you do too much more than that. If you are working full-time, try to at least touch your job search, so to speak, at least for, an hour and a half every single week. Okay. Again, it's going to depend on your schedule and what your timeline is, but it is true, last question here, that it is easier to find a job when you have one. So start looking now while you have time before you get really unhappy and you're about to run out the door. Part of that is it's a mental thing. Like as time drags on and you haven't had a job in a while, it starts to wear on you. And also when you've got current employment on your resume right now, employers look more favorably on that. That's just easier. You don't have to explain what the gap in your resume is or why you're not working currently. So thank you for that last question. It is true that it is easier to find a job when you already have one. All right, everyone, we're going to end for today. I greatly appreciate your time. If you have any other questions you want to ask me, please feel free to email me at admin@halliecrawford.com with those questions as well as the tools. Okay? All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.